So I think we're just going to go from left to right, replacing the keys. I'm not going to replace ones that are stabilized, just because this is my first time doing that, and messing with the stabilizers in the keycaps is just not something that I want to do on a recording. On my first time. This is my first time really modding my keyboards, and this isn't even a mod. You know what I mean? I'm just changing keycaps. So we are going to use the HyperX key replacer. NZXT sent one too. I just don't like this one as much. I don't know why. I've replaced keycaps with both. The HyperX tool that they sent just feels better. Just seems to do a better job. I think it just doesn't clamp as quite as tightly. Both of them get the keycaps off just fine, but this one makes it a little easier to get the keys out once I've pulled them off. So we're going to start left to right, and we're just going to do these rows like this. So let's jump into it. This one fell off here. Not good. And I may upload this video twice. I am going to clean off the keys a little bit in between, just because they haven't been cleaned. So I'm just going to wipe them with my hand, which should be fine for most of the keys. So already you can tell the difference between the Q and the W in the backlighting. And I am just going to leave these keycaps off. I'm going to collect all the old ones, set them aside somewhere. Maybe I'll put them back on something later. I'm not sure. This keyboard is completely toasted from when I poured coffee in it. So you can see already my preference. I've got the red accent here like I want, but you also get the RGB that comes through, right? It's green now. And then it's red, and you can tell through the key rather than it just being red the whole time like the escape key. So hopefully, in the fast version of this video, you'll see a nice gradient appear from left to right that's more consistent with what the backlighting is doing. Alt is my push-to-talk key. So you can see it's really worn out along this edge. Because if you have checked out my streams, or just played any games with me at all, or if you just know me, you know that I'm really talkative. So that's a button that gets a lot of use. You can probably tell the difference between, let me see if I can get a good comparison here. This has a metallic sheen to it, whereas these are just more translucent, but also with a matte finish. So I really do like the metallic finish on these. it is hard to tell what some of these keys are because they're so worn. My S gets a lot of gets a lot of action, I guess, because it is extremely worn. You probably can't. That's just a smudge. Doesn't even look like an S. That's all right. Mostly, I like the feel. It's more important to me, anyways. See, this tool is just so much easier than the other one. I know I didn't use the other one in this video, but it's really hard to get the keycaps out of the tool after you've pulled them off the keyboard. I did take compressed air through my old keyboard before doing this just to clean it out a little bit, but you know, with coffee spilled in it and then having it sit aside for a week or so, just you know, there's only so much that could do. C is another button that gets a lot of action when I play. It's my crouch button. Surprised it's not a little more worn. All right, we're going to get our last metallic key placed with number 4. My R gets a lot of use. Reload. Tactical reloader. But I've always been a very ammo conscious person. Back in the day when I would play single player games and share an account with my best friend growing up, he would drive me crazy because he would just spam ammo, just really be pretty liberal with its usage. And I'd be like, dude, we're gonna run out. And he's like, nah, man, this game is like, it's not how that works. Like, you always have plenty of ammo. Ew. Gross. Yuck. I have to vacuum after this. But yeah. So already, again, you can tell the backlighting between these keys and these keys. Maybe I can change the light level. Make it a little lower for you to tell better. I think that's the best setting that you can tell on. But yeah. Gonna have to stabilize this as I get towards the center of the keyboard so it's not slamming. I think the biggest difference we're going to see is over in this area. I'm not going to do the return key just because I don't want to mess with stabilizers right now. Maybe I'll do it later. Maybe I won't do it at all. It just depends on how lazy I am. This one's got a lot of dust on it. There we go. Just realized I'm not replacing my function keys. I also just like the character print on these better, on my HyperXs. I think the font and the symbols that they use are just more interesting. Try not to pick my keyboard up and slam it when I pull these center of the keyboard keys off. I'm also doing them one at a time just because otherwise I would forget what keys go where. This already looks so much better. It's unbelievable the difference that this makes. Which way does N go? It's the same upside down as right side up. Okay, but it has to be positioned higher. Okay. It's funny. I guess I also could have told by the contour of the key, right? You know, which end is higher and which end is lower. But funny little things you notice when you do something for the first time, right? Things you take for granted. Like, oh, you know, I have typed my whole life. Well, not my whole life, right? Like, I've typed ever since middle school when I learned how to type. We actually had a typing class. It's like, oh, you know, I could put things back on the keyboard, but once you look at a completely blank keyboard, you're like, all right, where does the U go, right? Like, it's kind of funny in that way. I think the reason I like this tool is because it grips better in the bottom. Like when I pulled this one out, the tool only latched on one side. It didn't latch on the other side, but it still came out flush too, without tugging on anything. Of course I say that and then it doesn't work there. Just like little things, right? Like I never thought that I would have a preference as to what keycap remover I used, right? So one of the fun things about getting into like building like custom equipment, right? Like I just installed RGB fans and water cooling and AIO on my CPU because I was tired of using the fan. I had the, I think it's the BlackRock Pro, and it's just massive. The fan was just huge. It covered my RAM, covered my I/O shield. I couldn't get in my computer and tinker with anything. Made it really hard to clean too. Just I am getting improved temperatures with the AIO, but that's not really why I did it. I was just really tired of that fan, to be honest. And the AIO, it's not going anywhere, right? Like in my next build, I can still use it. I got a 30 or 360 millimeter panel, or radiator rather. Which is more than I need. But I feel like that's something that you purchase once, and then you can go ahead and use it on any rig afterwards. So eventually when I upgrade, it won't be money down the drain, right? I'll just move the fan over. The installation is so easy. Way easier than that fan. It had like a specialized mounting bracket that I had to screw in from behind the motherboard, and oh my god, it was just a real disaster trying to get that thing installed. It was great for fan cooling. It did a hell of a job. That's how that's oriented. Got it. But it was just time to go. Time to get something more effective and much easier to work with. Come on. There we go. Got that sucker lined up just right. Wow, this just looks so much better already. I didn't realize how distinctive the fonts were until replacing these. Let's try to set this at the lowest RGB setting. Maybe it'll give it a little less bloom coming through the keys. Maybe a little more clarity over the specific characters. Not sure. Such a peaceful activity. I really understand now why people are so into keyboard modding. Although lubing individual switches, I don't know that I'll be doing that anytime soon, because that probably begins very peaceful as an activity. But I imagine it becomes pretty arduous. Halfway through, you're probably wishing it was just done. Which is why it's probably best done, I don't know, over the weekend or when you've got some time to stop doing it once it becomes unpleasant. But if you get a stream or something coming up, you can't just not have a keyboard. One thing that's interesting is that the characters are spaced differently. On the HyperX, they're pretty close together. On this, they're further apart. I wonder what sort of like UX, user experience research goes into something like that, you know. My question mark key is pretty heavily used. I wonder why that is. I guess it's also the slash key. I guess I use slash a lot, but not more than your other characters. Tiny bit of dust on this one. So there wasn't really a lot of demand for this video, or any demand for this video. I mean, at this point, the videos that I make, or the streams that I do, there's not really demand for any of that. It's just something that I enjoy doing. You know, the idea of being able to share with people is fun. And it makes it a little project, you know? It's something that is more than just a temporary experience, which I like. I think that's why I like streaming. Because even though that game time or chat or whatever it is like a temporary, instantaneous sort of thing, like, you know, editing your videos and improving your channel, improving some of the graphics, well, not graphics, but you know, the overlays and the effects that you have. That's really fun. It's a nice project. You get a cool sense of like improvement, progression, a little bit of pride in it too, you know. And maybe people enjoy it, you know. Maybe it adds something to someone's day, which is always a nice thought, right? Yeah, some of these keys over here seem like they get a lot more use. Or maybe they don't get as much use and that's why they're dustier. That actually might make sense. Because they're not worn. They're not worn like my Alt key here, which is, you know, or my WASDs. But they are dustier, which makes sense. I wonder if this key is on a stabilizer. Let's find out. Because I'm not going to mess with it if it is. It's not. Good. I think my backspace is Enter and Shift and Spacebar. I'm not sure about things like caps lock. I'll rub this with my shirt a little bit. Yeah, funnily enough, it seems like the keys that get less use are the ones that are a little dirtier, which is interesting. Backslash, yeah, who uses the backslash key, right? That's not commonly used. All right, I wonder if we can get our tab and caps off. Yeah. Oh, and also we didn't do our ellipses key. My headset just turned off. That's what that noise was. I also don't like the symbols as much on this. Like, if you take a look at this, instead of saying caps, it just has a capital A in brackets. I just don't... think that that is as interesting looking. I also don't think it's good UX design either. I mean, everybody's pretty familiar with a keyboard, but what if you're not, right? Like, what if you're not familiar with keyboards? What's the reasoning for replacing caps with a symbol that doesn't describe very well what it is that you're doing? I don't understand why you would do that. Ultimately, I mean, I've really loved the NZXT keyboard. It's just the key caps that come with it. I just like my old ones better, you know? Maybe there's something about them that's nicer that I don't realize. You know, I'm not into keyboards enough to realize that those caps are better for some reason, but not in any way that I've noticed or matters to me right now. Maybe I'll be eating those words after playing with it for a little bit. Maybe I'll notice later, but come on, Windows key. That's the other thing. I have a Windows lock key that I can press there, and it locks my Windows key. I didn't have that on the HyperX. It's a nice feature. I don't use it very often. And by it, I mean the Windows lock key, because I like having access to my Windows button. I don't really hit it by accident when I play games. Maybe that's training. Maybe I've done it so much that it's gotten really frustrating. So I just trained myself not to. Maybe that would be useful to other people. I know it's a common feature on gaming keyboards, but I don't have a whole lot of use for it. But it's nice that I have it, you know. I think I would use it if I had crouch on Control instead of on C. I would probably use it a hell of a lot more, just because you don't want to go to crouch and hit your Windows key. Wow, you can really tell the difference between these. And again, they're muffed up because they got a lot of use. But all right, I think these are on stabilizers, so I'm not going to mess with them. I'm going to do these, then the function keys. Then we'll move on to the right-hand portion of the keyboard. These have taken more dusting. And again, I think it's just because they don't get a lot of use. Where I spilled my coffee was over in the numpad, but I took those keycaps off. Rinse them, let them dry. Wait, did I mess something up here? Alt, function. I guess I'm going to keep that. There might be a difference in the way that these keyboards are made that I didn't realize earlier. Subtle difference I didn't even notice. That would be interesting, right? If this was just an alternate symbol for the Windows key. That would be, in my opinion, worse UX on the HyperX, which is the first time that I've said that about it today. And then our right control. The key that I really don't think I've ever pressed. Right control. Not a key that gets a whole lot of usage in gaming. Or at least my gaming, who knows. Maybe I would use it more in Star Citizen if I still played mouse keyboard, right, as an additional modifier key. That actually might be super helpful. But I play Star Citizen with, you can't see him right now, but I've got a joystick like right here, down below here, and then also on this side, just off screen. Alright, so that is all of the keys here. I think we're going to do our function keys, and then move over to the numpad area. And we'll do a type test at the end. You know, maybe replacing the keycaps will have some effect on the sound, though I really doubt it. Could be fun to try anyways. I think when I upload this, I'll have to create some timestamps. Lady Squid was nice enough to head upstairs and watch her shows up there, just because I have my, so that you can hear more of everything. I have my noise suppression filter turned off of my mic. But when you're sharing a living room, noise suppression is a pretty essential function. Well, also, I think when you have a keyboard like this too, noise suppression is also a must-have when you're streaming. Otherwise, every time you hit a key, you know, it blasts your chat with clickies. Again, another reason that I went to the browns instead of the blue switches. I mean, I just like it better. I don't know. It might also sound different because, like, here's where my mic is. This is much closer than this, right? Like, not really. It's not a huge difference. They're right next to each other, but just because they're so close to the mic, this one's like twice as far away than this one. I'm not really sure if that'll have an effect on the recorded sound. It might, on volume or quality. No real way to tell until I finish recording and listen back to it, but the font on these are bigger too. See, that F7 is much bigger than this one. This one has a symbol on it, which I kind of like. Although I don't know if this keyboard has this function of the pause play. I imagine it does. I imagine that that's more like the software that you're using and less the keyboard that you're using, if I were to guess. But I also don't know. I don't really know how that software is designed, so I can't say for sure, although I have a hunch. I keep looking at my recording at these switches and being like, wow, that's really blurry. You can't tell what those characters are at all, but there's no keycaps on them. It's just the blue switches. So, kind of funny. So you can already see, I mean, look at that purple travel through. You couldn't see that before because it would only come through. I mean, I actually set the RGB here to the lowest setting. Before, I had it turned all the way up to its highest setting just so that you could see the RGB. And now I can actually set it to its lowest and you can still see the transition through because it's coming through the keycaps instead of just coming through the edges, which is really nice. I also forgot to do my escape key. The escape key I think might be something that's stabilized. I don't really know. Oh, my display got all fucked up. That's the tough part about you know, changing these function keys is when you hit them, you know, they're function keys, so they're going to do some shit to your computer. There we go. Hopefully, yeah, F11 is the one that was minimizing, and you know, we're not going to hit Control Alt Delete at the same time. Well, that doesn't actually do anything, but it's so funny that like people who aren't computer savvy think that Control Alt Delete is like it gets rid of something when it's really Alt F4, right? Like I remember like going through the mall. Oh, come on. There we go. And I passed by the kids section, and one of the shirts was like Control Alt Delete my sister, as in like, you know, delete my sister. But it doesn't really make sense, you know. It's like, so you're gonna open up the control panel for your sister? Like, I don't, what are you, like, are you gonna end some processes? Or like, are you gonna like like change her startup programs? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I know that, I don't know, like Alt F4 my sister would actually make sense, but it's kind of gruesome when you think about it too. Like, terminate my sister's programming. It's kind of, I don't know. I would never buy that for a kid. Like, having sibling feuds is cute and all, but like, it's kind of weird to have your child become a billboard for not liking their sibling by wearing that. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't have kids, so what do I know? I used to work with kids, though. Hanging out with 150 kids every day for 11 hours. I feel like I don't have the worst opinions on it, but it's obviously different when they're yours. This was a keyboard video, now it's a parenting video. Look at all the ones we've replaced. That's pretty cool. I already love this. I mean, just the RGB difference that comes through without having to set it to the max. Because, you know, I'd rather have the RGB come through the keycaps than come up between the keys. And I know, you know, on any setting you can see it between the keys because you're top down. But, like, that just seems like overkill, doesn't it? It's like trying too hard. I think I like it here. I like the 75% setting. Come on. There we go. We've made a hell of a dent on these keycap replacements so far. I ordered a new mouse too. I mean, I love my G502. Everybody loves their G502. Like, everybody and their mom has one of these things. But I ordered the Razer Naga Trinity, which I've been eyeing for years, just because I love mouse buttons. I don't really play any MMOs. I mean, technically Star Citizen is an MMO. But, you know, I don't play any traditional MMOs right now. I played Elder Scrolls Online for a while. So I can definitely see the benefit of having mouse, you know, additional mouse buttons for that kind of game. But I just use them for everything, right? Like, my throwables are bound to my forward key. My heals are bound to my back key. And I would probably bind my melee to one of those keys too if I had additional ones. Or in Hunt Showdown, like, a lot of people, jump and vault are bound together. But jumping is used as kind of like an evasive tactic. So, you know, you could be by a window jumping around to avoid getting headshot. But if you're too close to the ledge, the game will trigger a vault action. So, you know, you'll just jump out the second story of a building that was your only cover entirely by accident. Which is why it doesn't happen a lot, but when it does happen, it's like hilarious. But awful at the same time. But anyways, I ordered the Razer Naga Trinity for all the mouse buttons. I think if you get like the Pro one, you can get up to like 12 additional mouse buttons or something like that. No, I think that's just a regular one, where you can get 12 because it's 4 lines of 3 or 3 lines of 4, something like that. It's a lot of buttons. I probably wouldn't use all 12. Not for Hunt, at least. Maybe for Star Citizen, as they keep implementing functionalities, right? Like, that might be a great button to bind your different gadgets that you have equipped, like a hacking chip, or your med gun, or your multi-tool. Instead of reaching up through your 1 through 4 keys, which I don't like using. But for some reason, Amazon issued me a return and a refund. I got an email the other day that said, hey, you know, we received your product back. Your refund should hit your account in a couple days. And I was like, what the hell? I didn't want a refund. I wanted the mouse. I don't think it has the sensitivity buttons, but I keep my, or DPI buttons. But I keep my mouse at the same DPI anyways. I should make more use of the sniper button, which is like you hold it to change the DPI, and then when you release it, it changes it back. And it's just a nice thumb button down here. But yeah, I don't know. Alright, so this should make a big difference, see. You know, no matter what color, you've got blue behind it right now, they're still glowing red. You've got green, they're still glowing red. This should make a big difference. Replacing this with black keys that are much more translucent. See that? You can see the color change. It's orange, now it's red, now it's purpley pink, now it's going to be blue. Yeah, you couldn't tell. You can't tell that on these keys because they're just red the whole time. So, and they just completely glow red. I mean, right? You can't even see the black here, right? The black that are the symbols, can't even see it. I think getting the accent keys, it's like $10. It's not a big deal, and it comes with the other ones, so you can swap them back out for the regular keycaps, the default keycaps that you ordered, if you want. I don't know. I mean, I like the keyboard. But I just noticed that I can make an improvement on it, so I'm going to, you know. Wow. That makes a huge difference to me. Maybe you can't tell from the video, but to me it's making a big difference. Just at looking at this and getting that RGB to come through the keycaps as well. I've tried to get a higher resolution video. Things were being grumpy with me, so I wasn't able to, but again, the difference in the symbols here, right? This one says, the HyperX keycap says numlock on it. This one just has the number 1 in brackets. You know, any person who's not familiar with typing or with using that area of their keyboard might think that this is a different version of the other one. So it's an interesting UX choice there. Be cool to know the reasoning for it. I don't think it's a manufacturing thing, right? Because there can't be that big of a difference in manufacturing these keys to have that printed as numlock or a different symbol, you know? Like, but I don't really know anything about molding plastic keycaps, so who knows? Maybe it saves them like 2 pennies per keycap or something, which ends up being like $1 million, but I don't know. Just speculating. Be interesting to know the reasoning. Or maybe it's just something that they didn't think about, right? They're like, oh, everyone knows that it's the, anyone buying this keyboard is familiar with typing enough to not need that, so we're going to try to make it sleeker. Maybe they think that design looks more sleek or something. My minus and plus keys get a lot of use because I have a kill counter on my stream. And it is bound to the plus and minus keys for numpad. I'm just in like a nice habit of like wiping down the surfaces of all of these keys. Even if they don't need it, I've been doing it just because it's nice and habitual. Uh-oh. The 8 didn't want to go anywhere. Forgot what key I had pulled for a second. We're almost done here. And I think we're going to do the escape key last. Assuming that it's not on stabilizers and annoying in that way. But just because we're going to see the biggest difference there, right? You can't even see that that's an escape key right now. It's just glowing, no matter what color is behind it. I guess you can kind of see that it says escape now. But it just like is glowing constantly red like that. I don't understand why. But I think the biggest difference will happen when we put a black escape key there that has the RGB come through the letters instead of through the keycap itself. We'll have to go through and give all these keys a slightly stronger press just to make sure. Just to make sure that they're all in there real nice, but so far they've felt fine. Uh-oh, throwing stuff. See, I'm nearing the end, so I think I'm going a little faster without realizing it, because it'll just be fun to have it done. Yeah, see, even the ones that I'm taking off that are relatively brand new, I'm wiping those off too, just because it's a good feeling to be taking care of your stuff and cleaning it, and even if it doesn't need it, just feels good. I wonder if this is on a stabilizer. Yeah, it is. That's frustrating. Alright, so that one's going to stay. And actually these are both probably on stabilizers too, so I don't think we'll be able to replace those. I mean, we can replace those. I shouldn't say we won't be able to. I just am choosing not to in this video because it's supposed to just be a quick keycap switch, not a tampering with things kind of thing. And who knows, maybe switching keycaps that are on stabilizers is a lot easier and quicker than I realize. It's a definite possibility, but we're just not gonna. This one's on stabilizers, right? So we got everything that isn't stabilized. Now it's time for the big one, the escape key. Let's take this off. I want to switch this one quickly so that you can really see the before and the after. So I'm going to clean this off, pop that sucker off. It's like Rudolph's nose right now. Get this one on quickly so you can really see the difference. That's gone. Now we've got that there. Yep. It's no longer Rudolph's nose burning constantly red in the top left of my computer. You know, you can kind of, or keyboard, you can kind of compare it with this down here, right? So this is constantly red, this is constantly red, regardless of what color is behind it. Now the escape key gets to participate in the RGB flow, rainbow flow from left to right. So I guess let's go through the ones we replaced. Just going to give a little push just to make sure they're all the way secured. I don't want any of my keys popping off in the middle of gameplay. Would not be ideal. Wow, this is just so much nicer. I'm gonna have to play with the RGB settings to see what I like best when it comes to off, setting 1, 2, 3, and max. I think that for this video I kind of like setting 2 the most right now. Man, that red really blows these suckers up. But I think that's it. We'll do a type test, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I didn't change any of the more rattly keys that I know people are really into when it comes to keyboard modding and lubing your switches and stuff. But I think that's it. I mean, I really like it. I think maybe when I edit this video, I'll do a before and after. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for checking this out. I'm really happy with it, and it was nice to just be able to kind of do a stream of consciousness ramble while I do a peaceful activity. And you know, maybe you'll be able to notice this in some of my other recordings and streams and stuff if I keep this overhead cam like this. So thanks for hanging out, and catch you next time.